Initially discarded as your typical mid-level A-rank support at the time of release, players very quickly realized how strong Nicole really is. While her power is gated behind her short uptime and hence also difficulty of actually playing her and making optimal use of her buffs and debuffs, Nicole quickly has risen from being an overlooked and possibly even overshadowed support to being a contender for one of the best supports in the entire game. This is her story, a story from zero to hero. What happened to Nicole? Even when Nicole released, she had everything handed to her like a golden meal on a silver tablet. Good anomaly application, a 40% defense ignore, a 15% crit rate boost, an additional core passive that was great but not necessary, which then allowed her to be flexed into many different teams, a strong A-rank signature weapon with many other viable choices available, and a variety of usable sets, namely Swing Jazz and Freedom Blues. But unfortunately for Nicole, most players did not have her Mindscape 6 at release. So no 15% crit rate boost. Anomaly application didn't really matter much either due to anomaly teams basically not existing, and hence Freedom Blues did not really matter much too. But most importantly, players just didn't know any better, and neither did content creators. We have been pushing Nicole builds with energy regeneration in slot 6, recommended 4P swing jazz, and even worse, we often emphasized on how important additional core passives are. And while that generally is true, for sure, exceptions make the rule, and Nicole is such an exception. A 40% defense shred paired with a free 15% crit rate and a 24% damage bonus from her signature W engine is just more than enough to simply make up for her missing out on the core passive. Her being the literally only ether unit in the entire game at the time of release did not really help this matter either. After all, the only damage she would be boosting would be her own. But you know what could also boost your damage? Getting more Mindscapes or signature weapons. And if you already intended on topping up anyway, today's sponsor ldshop.gg is a much cheaper way of doing that than doing it in-game. God, this must be the worst transition in sponsor history. Look at this! Guaranteed trigger with a nearly €100 discount? Insane! Just like LD Shop, which is a safe and reliable game top-up site for all your games such as Genshin Impact, Global Passive Star Rail, PUBG, Wuthering Waves, and of course Zenless Zone Zero. Here is a random explosion for retention. LD Shop, created by LD Player, offers you affordable prices through official ways and does not require any account credentials. Your server and UID are enough. LD Shop is trustworthy and provides a safe and fast delivery within minutes. LD Shop's got a lot of reviews and it is safe and reliable. Spend over $80 and you will gain VIP membership, which can reward you a free Internet membership. Don't you skip the sponsor, instead go directly to ldshop.gg using my link in the description or in the pinned comment and save money today. You will receive a 10% off and 5% off coupon by using my link. Thank you LD Shop for sponsoring this video, and with that, here's another explosion. Back to the video. Top all of this off with her being relatively difficult to play, and you end up with a massively underrated unit, overshadowed by the likes of Lucy and Sukaku. Lucy was generally seen as the most versatile and easy to play support in the game, and Sukaku was and still is one of the top choices for ice teams. Not necessarily because she is the best, but because she is free. And with everybody and their mom being hyped about Alan and fantasizing about Shark Girl sleeping in pajamas, Sukaku simply overshadowed Nicole. Again, not because she was better, but because the literally only premium team in existence just synergized super well with her. And if you had Rina, you played her instead of Sukaku in your Alan team. But not everyone has had Lycon or Collider for that matter. and some players just didn't enjoy Anby. And so it came to be that players have been slowly experimenting with the first double support compositions. Unfortunately for Nicole, this didn't really help her much yet either, as Nicole really only got her first notable attention when Sujuan was released. Nicole now finally having another ether unit in the game did not only help herself in activating her own core passive, but also did so for Sujuan. With Nicole being literally free and everybody having her, she became the unquestioned top tier support for Sujuan at that time. With the release of Qingni just right after and Sujuan now becoming the top DPS, she finally has gotten the attention she deserved, and players realized now very quickly how strong she really was. Is what I would say, but somehow that still was not the case. Don't get me wrong, players realized how strong Nicole was in that team. She just still was overlooked outside of Sujuan teams. While she has now at least been in a spot where players have been recommending and playing her outside of Sujuan teams, it mostly was, well, she was mostly seen as the free-to-play alternative, not a top recommendation. And funnily enough, this was indeed true. Even with the release of Jane, Bernice and Yanagi, nothing actually changed in this regard. Sure, Nicole did see some play within hypercarry Jane teams, mainly used for high Shiyu clears. But except for Sujuan, every single DPS in the entire game had their damage distributed throughout the fight. Ellen in her reoccurring basic 3, Jane and Piper with frequent assaults, Bernice, Yanagi had disorders but frequented them as well. Soldier 11 is the definition of a sustained DPS, and I could go on and on. The only unit who actually condensed all of their damage within a somewhat constrained window has been Sujuan, and with Nicole not having enough energy to keep an insane uptime on her defense threat, the inherent value of a strong debuff with a short uptime was diminished simply by the current state of how DPS agents in Zenless Zone 0 were designed to work. And while it did not push Nicole's popularity to new heights, I feel like it should be mentioned of how massive the 1.3 changes to ultimates actually were. This is true for all supports, but even more so for Nicole, who was now able to maintain a 100% uptime on her buffs and debuffs throughout the entire enemy stun window without needing to save up on maximum energy. But the real game changer is still upon us. But Miyabi was also the first time when we began to have access to large burst damage within a somewhat short time frame. Her enhanced basic 3 did not only deal insane damage, which could make great use of Nicole's debuff uptime, but due to her long animation times, players started to actually play Zenless Zone 0 differently. Miyabi's release was the first time when quick swaps and animation cancels became actually prevalent within ZZZ's meta. Being able to dish out millions of damage within a single skill cast while simultaneously also playing a secondary character like Yanagi, who could now also inflict large disorders at the same time, gave an incredible rise to Nicole's popularity. Not only was Nicole free, but with more units not being reliant on their element and faction for their additional core passive, Nicole was able to be slotted into more and more different teams without other units having to give up their core passive as well. At the same time, Deadly Assault was released as well, and with longer fights, Nicole was also able to make greater use of her uptime more frequently. At this point in time, we now also had enough anomaly units that players started to build anomaly mastery and anomaly proficiency on Nicole, and with more and more players experimenting with her in different teams, she has quickly risen to becoming one of the top support choices for, well, actually most teams. Fast forward 1 month, and not only did she establish herself as being frankly just really fucking good, but she also had many different sets by now she could utilize. swing jazz, astral voice, freedom blues, protopunk. But with so many different sets at her disposal and set effects being unique, she now had a variety of choices and was hence also super easy and flexible to build. Her defense threat and crit rate buffs being very synergistic and actually also multiplicative with Astra's buffs, and basically all other buffs in the game outside of pen ratio for that matter, quickly established a new meta where Astra and Nicole have been a stable core for honestly basically every single team. Miyabi, Nicole Astra. Eve, Nicole Astra. Hadamasa, who cares, Nicole Astra. It doesn't even matter if the support core has been the best in slot for these units. They often have not been, in fact, for example Hadamasa. But it was simply so strong that you could play it with literally any carry whatsoever and still perform well. And with the release of more burst-oriented units such as Evelynn and Soldier Zero Ambi, her position did not fall off. If at all, it just kept strengthening more and more, with every DPS recently released being, well, not a sustained DPS, but more oriented towards a burst playstyle. Nicole simply found herself in a meta where she shines. A meta where her DPS mainly relies on one specific skill to be used within a somewhat short time frame. Miyabi's Enhanced Basic 3, Evelynn's chain attacks, or Soldier Zero Ambi's special combos coming to mind. And with that, Nicole is nowadays honestly in a very healthy and frankly also strong position. Her full strength being gated behind a certain level of skill expression, but being free for everyone. Flexible to build and being able to be slotted into many different teams. All of it contributed to her story. A story from zero to hero. What are your thoughts on Nicole? Do you think she will inevitably be power crept rather soon, or will she be able to keep her spot at least for a while? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, like and share if you liked the video, and don't forget to subscribe for more Zenless Zone Zero content. Peace.